I'll just let the panelists introduce them first. We'll start with you, Ryan. You can just introduce yourself and the company. And by the way, but while Ryan's doing that, can we get the curation sketch up on the board, please?
Sure. I'm Ryan Pestano. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Lemma. We're essentially an SSP for emerging formats. That's out of home, CTV, etc.
Awesome.
Well, I'm Ben. I'm from Dentsu. So I'm the director for commercials and partnerships. So yeah, I think you've heard enough of what Dentsu is, but we are one of the largest holding companies in the industry. So yeah, on to Kristen.
Yep, I'm Kristen from Daily Vanity. We are a beauty publication, one of the leading ones in Singapore. So if you have a skincare routine, chances that you have heard of us. I'm the editorial director there.
Hi everyone, I'm Neha. I lead digital for Hersheys in APAC, and I hope everyone knows about Hersheys.
I love Hersheys. So this is the sketch we had up earlier on for Curation, and Curation has been around for some time. In fact, actually Curation was invented by Ryan's old boss, Boris from Open Web, which is now part of Editorial. And it's been around for quite a bit of time. And just to give you sort of a run through why it's important, there's core reasons like content selection, quality control, audience targeting, and optimization and monitoring. And I suppose in a time where we're about to lose the cookie signal, curation is becoming even more important around sort of activating sort of programmatic deals. And it's becoming super important, even more so around key sort of segments and KPIs like attention, DE&I, sustainability, and it's a super exciting space, and it's kind of been under the wraps. Many people have been using it in the industry for many years, but it's kind of having its day in the sun, and I think it's going to become even more important, and we have this fantastic panel here to talk about it. And Ryan, we might as well start with you, given the fact, you were deep in the weeds of curation for many years. Why is it now having its moment in the sun? Why has curation become very important?
Well, I think one, just as identity starts to kind of shift and change with, kind of the upcoming changes around cookie deprecation, mobile ad IDs, and everything else, that I think that's driving some of it. Two, there's just more fragmented data that, a lot of the demand-side platforms can't really necessarily keep up with. And also the formats are changing, right? So, a few years ago, programmatic digital out of home was nothing, right? So now there's all these companies that are doing it. CTV has kind of gone through a renaissance, and throughout the pandemic. So I think all of that combining and driving some of those combinations that a lot of the larger demand side platforms can't necessarily keep up with. I think that's what's driving curation. That's why it's having this kind of impact now.
Yeah, Ben, you've kind of made your career around. You're the curation king. So I heard you referred to it earlier on. Ben, the curation king. Talk about why you've invested a lot of time in this, because it's important for people to understand the value of this. Like, because you've spent time in this, and it's kind of like interesting being so niche. Like P&P deals. Everybody just thought it was sort of an ad ops, hack, but actually there's so much more to it.
Yeah, definitely there's a lot more to it. And just to add on to Ryan's point, I think in recent years, if you look at the RFPs that have been put out, a lot of the big advertisers, I'm sure Hersheys is one of them as well, are requesting a lot around transparency, media accountability from the agencies. And really curation is part of that equation of the agency being able to deliver the performance at scale and also at the level of transparency and accountability that we can with the help of tech partners. And I think in recent years, and we can see it coming this year actually with a lot more SSPs coming on board, and that's where I feel like the agency can play a bigger role, because again, as the agency, we are always going to be in the service side of things. Yeah. So while curation is fantastic, while there are already existing tools and tech that can support curation, I think the ease, effectiveness, and efficiency of curation today is a lot more forward and advanced than before, which allows really the agency to, again, pick up a new mantle on providing a curation service for our clients and delivering all of those advantages for our clients as well.
Just take it from the brand side here. I'm curious why, how you see it, because obviously there's so much upside from it. Because like you look at it from the type of deals you'd like to do, right? it's almost a la carte programmatic or a la carte deals. So give us an overview of how the brands are seeing this opportunity.
So essentially, brands are looking for more transparency, more kind of accountability, like what Ben said. And also for us, like at Hersheys, we're trying to drive that kind of craveability with our product visuals. So high quality inventory also becomes like a key part of why we are looking at these kind of custom deals. Also, I think just in terms of easing the ways of working, making it more simple, more transparent, more efficient, and getting the right kind of ROI for our investments in this part of the world is a key reason. So, yeah.
Kristen, can you take the publisher view? From a publisher's point of view, and just give you some background on your publication. It's a beauty-focused publication, top of the funnel, a great, highly engaged audience. And I suppose for many years, you kind of were probably bought around, I'll just buy those beauty intenders on some MFA site using Vanity metrics. But it's shifting towards publishers now. So give us your perspective on the publisher view, because it's important for you guys because you can do a lot more around audience plus signal.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is correct. Like for us as a beauty-focused publication, curation is always something that we are selling, because basically 100% of people who are on our site, they are interested in beauty, which means a lot for our beauty clients. And right now, as we move into a cookieless world, I think there is even more focus on us as media owners because we own data as well. And right from the start, we have been collecting data in terms of our email subscribers and other means as well. And I think right now, the challenge would be for us to think about how we're going to organize all this data, how we're going to make it more meaningful for everybody. So that would be something that I'll be looking forward in the next couple of years.
And our agency's reaching out to you about doing these specific P&P deals. I mean, obviously, it started off being P&P, but now it's much broader. Like, I think Ryan beautifully put it there. So it started off with display, but you could argue we could do email. You did mention email, right? You could do curation and email. As long as you have a programmatic connection, a P&P connection, you can do some P&P deals on there. I actually know a vendor doing that. I'll talk to you later about it. And then, there's other areas like TV out of home. Like the spectrum of options are bigger for agencies now.
Yes, exactly. I think it will probably open up some kind of new revenue stream for us as well, as people are trying to look into more curated ways of placing their ads and so on and so forth. And for us, we are also looking into different ways that we can collect better first-party data. So like I mentioned earlier, there is like the email subscriber part. For many years, we've been doing consumer surveys. So that will actually give us very, very, very in-depth information about each of the people who are in our database. So these are some things that we can think about how we can further monetize it to make curation something that would benefit us as a publisher.
Right. Can you talk us through sort of the tools that are used here? I'd like to walk us through the process, because I know it's a bit in the weeds, but it's kind of interesting for a lot of people. Like, how does it work, right? Like, how do you set up the deals? What's the value? KPIs, etc. I'm just curious, just a high level campaign, if you will.
Yeah, I think it really starts off with the integrations with the different publishers and what you can kind of get directly, right? So you start there. Then you take in different forms of data. And in the forms of curation, the one thing that you brought up was really important is first-party data, right? So that's really key. So if you can have first-party data, and a lot of concerns around first-party data is, well, how do I protect it? I don't want to put it into another kind of system and platform and have it kind of bleed everywhere. With curation, because you can take data and take inventory, combine that into a deal, into a package, and then send that off pretty much anonymously, because you're not sending any data signals with that. You're just sending basically a bid request to a DSP, and that DSP is just essentially buying it. Or in some cases, they're if it's a programmatic guaranteed or some other form of deal that's more likely to be bought, right? So you can kind of just do it that way and have it more clean. So you essentially it's a combination of data, inventory, packaging it up, and which also makes it for a lot of agencies simpler to work with, because rather than having to deal with 10 different deals from 10 different publishers, you can combine that into one in curation, right, within a supply-side platform, send that to a DSP. So now a trader is essentially going to traffic one deal rather than 10, right? So that makes it really simple.
And is that how you manage? I imagine you have always-on deals, right? So there's a sustainability deal. There's a DE&I, there's an attention, like you've got all this. How do you manage that? Like, what's the process? Because I'm fascinated by the one thing I always find with curation is great to set up, the concept's there, but it's the activation is always the problem, right? How do you how do you make that work?
I mean, with the activation, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but just to double click on what Ryan mentioned as well, and to the title of this panel as well, does curation unlock new audiences? I won't say unlocking new audiences per se, but what curation allows us to do is with that same set of rich data, rich signals, it allows us to, from the supply side, from the inventory side, be very efficient and effective in curating those impressions that matters for what your clients after, what a certain campaign's after, and then doing that, right? So to your point on DNI, attention, I think it goes back to firstly how those are being measured, especially for attention. How can that then translate into data that's available in the bid stream? How do you put all that together and then create a package and then send it to the DSP for the buyer to buy, right? Now, when it comes to DNI, I think this is where I think a couple of years back, we've been doing this for a while, and a couple of years back, we had this fantastic opportunity, and this really goes to show the skill and reach of curation, because out of Singapore, what we're able to do is for a client out of US, now it was the Black History Month. Yeah. What we were able to do is essentially, with the help of supply-side partners, look at a whole list of publishers who are BIPOC owners. So really around the DNI space, curating all of those site lists, setting it up as a deal, and then running that for the client as part of Black History Month. So really the promise or the capability of curation really extends beyond what we do today and even more as data becomes richer and we can work with more data as well.
Yeah. Is this appealing from a brand perspective? Because like typically you have a DSP who listens to many impressions. It serves the ad and there's various vanity metrics supplied to it, and then you look for cheap reach. But surely this is a good product that you can sign up to, like particularly KPIs of brands. You do have KPIs around sustainability, you do have KPIs around DNI, and then you have specific KPIs around attention, right? Like that's a good metric to have. This is an appealing product to the brand side.
Yes, definitely. I think attention metrics and definitely having audience targeting, kind of content curation, etc., is important and very relevant to like selling chocolates every day. But some of the other kind of opportunities and avenues that curation actually opens up is the ability to build higher order brand equity. So, for example, as Hersheys, we are sort of invested in sustainability or DEI, so diversity, and we have this campaign globally, which is about the Women's Day campaign, Hershey. So reaching out to audiences that actually resonate with that message beyond just the selling of chocolate, with these kind of curated deals that we can get, is something of value to us. Because sometimes the objective of the campaign is far beyond sort of just selling the next bar.
Yeah,
so
you can apply the metrics that matter to you.
Exactly.
Like, so we had a panel about black box sort of obfuscated platforms. This sort of gives you the type of transparency that you want, right? Exactly. Like across the sites that you want to be across. And then it's funny because like there's a whole made for advertising stuff going on in the US, right, and Europe and APAC about how DSPs are sort of buying cheap inventory because the metrics match up. I suppose the likes of curation kind of takes that out, right?
Yeah. So
Right.
from a brand side, we are looking at curation to really winnow down the entire universe and get us that quality kind of supply that is available, so that we can drive some of these higher order brand messaging and metrics, track it accordingly.
Yeah. Just following on from that, for the question about the MFA sites, and that's been a huge issue. I think curation just gives you more control.
It does. Yeah, I think like because you're working directly with the publishers and you have kind of their list, you have the data, you have that, you can provide that level of visibility. You can do that when look, there's nothing wrong with the open exchange, but there is a lot of kind of junky materials in there, right? I mean, let's be honest.
There's a lot wrong with open exchange. Come on, man.
Yeah, but with curation, you're able to really kind of do that and like deliver more value to the brand, whereas you're kind of spraying and praying on an open exchange. you know, when you're curating and you're kind of picking these you know, kind of higher value publishers, layering it with higher value data, yes, you're paying more for it, but you're getting more value out of it.
Yeah. Imagine this scenario here. Stick with me. I'm going to have a little narrative here. Vince is pitching for a big beauty brand, right? We call it similar to, you know, one of the lipstick brands, right? And he wins it. He's excited. He can't believe that he's won. He's going to talk about how he won a lipstick brand, right? It's a big thing, you know. Ben, he's delighted. Come on, yeah, we won the pitch. It's amazing that you can go to Daily Vanity and then actually start building specific curated campaigns around first-party data, around lipstick contenders, different colors of the day. That's a cool thing from an agency publisher point of view. That's sort of the kind of thing you're going to be doing more of probably going forward.
Yeah, I think so, and that's where curation really allows us to do that at more efficiently at a wider scale, because you're doing all the targeting and the layering on the supply side. You get your highest match rates out of the supply side, and by which you're able to essentially maximize the amount of or the number of bid requests that you can send about a certain addressed audience from a certain set of publishers. It doesn't have to be one, but now based on your audience, the targeting that they've built, essentially you can go into the whole ecosystem or supply side of impressions and find out how many of those impressions match up to the audience I'm trying to target. I'll build them all up in the deal. Every bid request that goes to the bidder essentially is an impression that you would want to bid on. So I think the optimization of that whole targeting and efficiency really helps to drive the value of curation as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think on the publisher side, it makes a lot of sense as well, because it means that we're going to get basically more money out of that deal.
More money. That is exactly that. More
It's
money.
exactly what we all want. And I mean, if you go by the traditional way, where it's uncurated, the same campaign budget goes out and we are getting that small portion of it, even though we know that we are delivering really targeted audience to the brand. So in that sense, I think with curation, it's going to give us a more equitable, maybe, kind of value. So that, in a sense, it's always good news for us, because everybody just wants more revenue at the end of the day.
Yeah. Just getting technical again for a minute. How is curation sort of evolving from a typical PMP? Is it the fact that you're able to bring in, like I always believe it's like you can bring all the best parts of ad tech to play, right?
Yeah.
You can bring data, you can bring inventory sources, you can bring even like, you know, disparate sort of units, et cetera, et cetera. Is that the difference? Is it sort of like you've taken the PMP model and just super drived it? And is that what curation is effectively?
Yeah, I think there's that you're kind of souping it up and making sure that you can kind of have more reach. And like, you know, you were saying earlier about your first party data, right? That's really hard to do when you're trying to do it on the demand side, right? Because you have to pass the first party data over to the demand side has to activate that on their platform, and then you got to layer it. And then, you know, like the activation of that PMP on the DSP. I mean, how many times have you negotiated a private deal and it never turns on, right? So curation will kind of solve a lot of those problems. One, it'll take the data that's coming from, the inventory that's coming from that publisher. They're able to take that first party data, layer it on other publishers, so get more value out of that data. And then also, because it's being curated, the agency can then keep an eye, and as well as the SSP, is that deal actually being turned on, right? Because now that the agency is no longer having to traffic 10 or 20 or 30 different deal IDs for that one campaign, it's a lot easier to kind of troubleshoot and figure out where things go wrong, right? Whereas before, send me a screenshot.
You could have 1,000 PMP deals, and they never get activated. That was always the, you know, like you could set up all this stuff, and it never gets done. So like you're saying, a curation model can bundle that up and make sure that 1,000 deals is one deal, and it can be trafficked that way, and it can get proper like distribution of spend and etc.
Yeah, I mean, the DSPs have done a lot building out kind of these tools that help you troubleshoot deal IDs. But the other part on the SSP has always been they don't have that much visibility. So I think on the supply side, because you're able to see that end of it, you can actually help troubleshoot on the publisher side, right? So it's just kind of completing that chain. So the DSPs absolutely add a lot of value. But a lot of times you'll just see like, oh, you turned on affinity segments on Google. No wonder it's not working. Right? So it's that type of stuff that we start to see on the SSP side too.
Can I just follow on question that you see it moving from display to other channels? Is that the exciting part as well? Like, and I'll come back to Neha in that one, but let's start with you, Ryan, because you're doing the sort of non-display sort of stuff. Is that exciting sort of? Because I can imagine, like, as long as you have a programmatic integration somewhere, you could effectively do a curation deal on TV. You could effectively do a curation deal on out of home. You could effectively do a curation on email, right? You could effectively do a curation deal on display. And you could actually build a really interesting plan across the whole lot. It becomes even more interesting when you sort of apply a plan above it. Is that where you think the exciting parts of curation? We've only started really dipping our toes into it. It started off as a P&P deal to sort of make sure that money was going to publishers, right? That didn't scale as well as it should do. It then was sort of bringing all the bits, all the deals together and applying then the best parts of ad tech, right? The best parts of data, best parts of technology, units, etc. But we're now moving into the next phase where we could actually do it across different channels.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting bits that will happen, I think, over the next couple of years. One is, well, things are becoming more digital. All digital will eventually become programmatic, right? So that there's that whole kind of belief. So as that happens, curation becomes more and more important, right? Especially as TV budgets shift over to CTV, out-of-home budgets shift into digital and programmatic digital out-of-home. Radio budgets are shifting into streaming audio. You're able to really curate that. And now when you think about the new data landscape where it's not just cookies, where you're looking at maybe kind of more geolocation based and how
contextual or attention or whatever.
That becomes really interesting when you start to applying that data to more than just display ads.
Yeah. That's exciting from a brand point of view.
Exactly. That was
It then becomes less about a channel, it becomes a holistic buy.
Yeah, it becomes more of a strategy rather than just a siloed buy on display for us. And that's where it adds value and helps us to really see the metrics across the funnel and understand the kind of impact this transparency and better quality inventory is really driving.
Final question, like we're running out of time here, but I wanted to do it sort of a in the weeds Alps thing, and Kristen, because in the last panel, Vince knew he works at an interesting sort of consultancy business, said the trader was dead, right? Traders were dead. But he also did follow it up saying that, well, curation is going to change it. So I want to talk about sell side, buy side activation. Kristen, you're going to have to hire more ops people to run these deals. Is that a thing you're seeing already? Does that need a specific skill set, you think, in the publisher side of things? I mean, how are you sort of focusing that?
Oh,
Well, I'll go with Kristen first, and then we'll go to you, Ben, because you're sell side, buy side. That's what I'm going to finish on.
Yeah, exactly. I think with that, we definitely need people with skills that are very different. I mean, previously, if we look at publishers, we are looking at people who are content strategists, but now we need to look at people who are data analysts. We need to look at people with a marketing brain that also has a content background. So these are people who are going to be able to help us to properly organize our data, to know exactly what to do with it, and how we're going to help our clients commercially. So it's basically a team I need to build. So if anyone is interested, please look for me later.
You're not. All those traders are losing your job. Kristen's going to hire you, right? So she's going to have some cake and tea to break, and we'll do the hiring. Ben, you get the last word. I know I'll give a one-line answer to all the rest of you. Ben, you finish up.
cool. Yeah. I don't think the trader is dead. I think the entire programmatic ecosystem is still the same. It's just where are we harnessing all that data that sits in programmatic. Now it's changing, or it's kind of shifting a bit to the supply side with curation, but it operates very similarly to the way that a DSP operates. You do a similar level of targeting. There's a similar level of targeting that you can do on the supply side as you do on the demand side. It's just that it's getting a lot more efficient on that side. So from that point of view, I don't think traders are dead. I think the role of SSPs, curation tools, the role of DSPs will change. The importance to a media plan or their importance to delivering a certain KPI for our clients will change. And I know we had that chat about the panel on black boxes. But I think that's where you can truly, with everything you know that you have set up a certain deal on, when it comes to audience, when it comes to placements, when it comes to a certain requirement on an impression, all of that's there. That's all transparent to you. You can use the DSPs for all the AI that they have, all the bit strategies that they have.
All the complexities, all the different black boxes, algorithms. Okay, we'll finish up by describing in one word how you feel about curation. I'm going to start. Super pumped. Right. Hold on. That's not two words. They're connected by a hyphen. That's one word. Super pumped. If you hyphenate it, it's one word. We can talk about it later on. Ryan.
I think it's innovation.
Ben.
Oh, I think it's limitless.
Kristen, I'd say money.
Catching.
Like it, yeah. And the
Test
efficiency.
and learn.
Sorry, what was that?
Test and learn.
Test and learn. That was three words, but I'm going to let you get away because you're
That's
brand.
also hyphenated.
Yeah, they're all hyphenated.
line.
Exactly. Yeah. And on that note, that was a great panel, by the way. I really enjoyed that. It was actually interesting because I think we are at this sort of like different inflection point in the programmatic space, and there's so much opportunity here. So, round of applause for a fantastic conversation. Thank you very much, guys.